Way! Ba-da-da, ba-da-da. Fly, Eagles, fly. Oh, God. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da. This is NFL Straya. I am your co-host, Jaymz Clements. You can also see me on the AFL Today Show on NBA Straya. AFL Today Show is absolute chaos at the moment. Season preview stuff. It's awesome. NBA is back. But come on. What are we doing here? We're all sitting here. We've been waiting for a week and a half.
You didn't realize I was wearing this, did you? Jimmy, I'm fanboying out. Look at this. It's fucking doing it.
Oh, jeez.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
Spit in my mouth. That's right. On the other side of this here screen is a bloke who is still just, I don't think he's sober. He hasn't been sober for a week and a half since our Super Bowl party because his beloved Philadelphia Eagles won it. And his sometimes secret band called the Ramshackle Army. He's my mate. He's your mate. It's Gaz.
I don't think won it goes far enough, Jim.
Yeah.
Honestly. I'll be fair. Like we always, I think you said it at the end of the live stream was that, or at least at the end of the pre-wrap, that we'll see what time we actually get to do this, because we're always a couple of days late, never the day after. But guess what, Jim? When Gaz is hungover for 4 fucking days, it fucking happens. It was the best day of the year, Jim. I'm not gonna lie. This
is it. So we're gonna break with tradition, and like, there's no structure to the Super Bowl rap show because we don't need it. This is literally the Gaz victory lap episode. So we did a massive live stream during the Supie at the Catfish in Fitzroy. It was awesome. Made all the more awesome for Gaz, of course, because his team won. But mostly awesome for all the folks who were down there. We had a great time.
It was huge. It
was great. It was packed upstairs and down. We had the best fun. I had to then run off to the NBL Awards and leave Gaz floating in the wind.
A lot of screwball, Jim. Yes. A lot of screwball. So I walked in the door, and my first shot was at 8:30 in the morning. Yep. As soon as I walked in the door, Mike and Kieran, the owners of Catfish, plonked that down in front of me. And I always say, even it's the 3rd Super Bowl I've watched of the Eagles there. I'm like, at least let me see till after halftime, boys. Let me see. And I stumbled in at 11:30 that night. Cash, as in my wife, was messaging me for about 4 hours before that, asking for signs of life. And I was just having a great time, Jim. I was having a great time. The way that I put it, I couldn't say it in the conversation that we had pre-game, kind of leading up to it. But I was pretty happy on paper about how the teams matched up. It was always that kind of the Spags element, and then there was the Andy Reid element, and then there's the Andy Reid off a bye when you give him 2 weeks to prep for a team, and then you've got Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. But if I put a comparison to a feeling, it felt like Geelong in the grand final. We played Sydney, where I was like, you know what? I'm actually more quietly confident. Like, Sydney's a better team most of the year, but I'm feeling all right. And then we came out and it was over during the first quarter. This is what happened, Jim. Like, I don't think we were expecting that. We weren't expecting, what was it, 34-0 at halftime?
It was 24-0, Gaz.
24-0. No, then we scored in the third. We scored again a couple of times.
It breaks a little bit. But yeah, 24-0 at the half was pretty crazy. But we'll wind it back.
Okay.
So going into the Super Bowl, we do the pre-game. And we're sort of breaking it down. It's like, you sort of go, well, okay, Philadelphia seemed to have the better units on the field. Across the board, they've got some, like, the players, like the position sort of stuff is a little bit better here and there. And then you kind of keep just turning it back like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, as you just said. And very quickly, it was like, oh, that doesn't matter. They're just a better football team. So we've gone absolutely ham with our pre-game show. It's unreal. We've settled in. We've gone under by our count with the anthem. Tails Never Fails just continues to rock our world. We get going. Kickoff happens. We're all flying. It's feeling good. Patrick Mahomes has a completion to start off. And then what did he not do the rest of the first half, Gaz?
Anything, Jim.
He didn't have another first down the rest of the half. It was insane.
Nope.
And yeah, your Eagles just put them to the sword time after time after time. Mahomes had probably his worst game ever. Stat padding down the back end. Like, it doesn't matter. Don't even look at the score. So it ends up the Philadelphia Eagles win Super Bowl, 59, 40-22. That 22 is wildly flattering to the Kansas City Chiefs. That is 2 junk time touchdowns that did not matter. The Eagles did not care about. And this is an Eagles team that just like belt to ass from the start of the game to the end of the
like
game.
CJGJ. It's fucking
belt to ass. So it was a walloping, basically.
There was like they didn't get, they didn't run a play in the Eagles half until the second half. Forget the Super Bowl, one of the best defensive sequences I've ever seen from an Eagles defense went sack of Mahomes, pick 6 by the rookie in 3 consecutive plays. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, what is going on here? Like the defensive line, and it's been made a whole the analysis of this game. I was over the analysis inside and out of this game leading up to it. And everyone picked, including us, go, you know what? They're going to sell out on Barkley and make Hurts make him pay and like beat us with your arm. And between his arm and his legs, he fucking did. It was honestly the best game I've seen Hurts play since the last Super Bowl. And the only difference in that was he had a defense on the other side of the ball. Wasn't that Jonathan Gannon, bend, don't break. Someone who was fucking going after Mahomes. And he didn't have the turnover that cost us in that scoop and score, right? The fumble. Yes, he had an interception throwing off his back foot to AJ Brown, but realistically, that was 3rd and 10. So if he had that was an incompletion, it would have been a punt and they would have taken over from there anyway. So it was like no harm, no foul. But realistically, what that defense did, and it's been put all over the media, the sacks that they got, there was not a single blitz in the game, Jim. They played almost exclusively in zone throughout that entire game. And it was just fucking awesome. I've never seen a defensive stance like it, let alone in the fucking against Mahomes and in the Super Bowl. It was mind-blowing.
So the one fun stat was up until basically you gave up the game.
One fun stat? I have a lot of fucking fun stats at this game, Jim.
And this is like, it sort of speaks to the overarching thing that I've sort of, had a week and a half to mull over. People go, the Super Bowl sucked. It's like, it didn't, because Philly was so dominant that they didn't give KC a chance. And like, when you so rarely see an ass kicking of that degree of a team that good, that I was enthralled by it. And for people to go, I was that good, it's like, okay, so tell me you're a casual without telling me you're a casual, right? Yeah. And I think folks who actually give a shit about the NFL, like, that fucking ruled. Because it's not often you see a team just so utterly dominate another one, right? To this degree, to the point where, and I'll get to my stat, where it was quite literally the defensive rating that your Eagles were putting up was basically equal to, if not better, than the 2000 Ravens, one of the great defenses of all time, and the 85 Bears.
Yeah.
The 2 greatest defenses of all time. If they don't put the foot off the gas, this one goes down in history as one of the greats. And they probably do anyway because they were that bloody good. But like, it sort of like just put everything in perspective of like, sometimes when you see excellence, and like Mahomes and this Chiefs team have actually put together excellent games, and just wallop teams. But this was just a special showing by a team that I'm just like, I fucking love to hate them, but it's hilarious. They were that good. I didn't care. Loved the game.
I need to, you keep giving me loving about the moment my heart broke a couple of years ago and all that sort of stuff. There's one thing that stuck into my mind, and it was during an episode after the bye, and I said something about that we'd started Cooper DeJean, and the defense was starting to pick up, and I'm like, Jim, We've got some fucking pretty good secondary play here. We're climbing up the ranks. There's a chance that we're going to be the number one defense. And your comment, you had a smirk on your face and said, I just love it when you've got hope. Fuck hope, Jim. We got the Lombardi.
You won the bloody entire thing. It's awesome.
Fuck, it was so, dude, it was, but also the stories behind this team as well. Like, just the players who were cast-offs anywhere. Like, if you've seen the photo of Mekhi Becton just sitting surrounded by Eagles confetti, like staring at the ceiling, crying because he was spent all last year being called a bust as a first-round draft pick from the Jets. The Eagles got him as a tackle, moved him to guard, and he starts and wins a Super Bowl. Our linebacker core, which was gone from, special teamers, CJ who went over to the Lions and then came back, and he's only played Super Bowls in Philadelphia. The rookies starting on the outside, Slay, who might retire, Brandon Graham, who was injured, was out for the season, came back for the Super Bowl and actually contributed. Like, fuck me, man. Saquon, the storylines about Hurts, about he's not good enough, he's going to get fucking replaced next year. Sirianni, after 2-2, was going to get the sack. Fucking Kellen Moore's washed up. He's never going to be the one to kill everyone. The stories that have gone around, like, it's fucking sick, Jim. I'm not going to lie. It's different than 2018. I know I'm gushing, and anyone who's a Cowboys supporter is going, bleh. But it's also made so much better of, like, Dak coming out and going, you know what? We're not actually that far from the Eagles. Like, we take it to them. That's fine. And the Giants suffering, and just makes it all so much sweeter.
Damn right. I also I get my own little victory lap as well. Tom Brady in Super Bowls, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes so far, 8 touchdowns, already 7 interceptions after that game. Like, it was... I think this also sort of goes to show just how fucking hard this is, right?
Yeah.
Really fucking hard. This is why no one three-peats.
Yeah.
You have to start again each fucking year from the very fucking bottom. Nothing carries over beyond your talent, and it's always getting older, basically.
Yeah.
And, we sort of looked at this all year. It's like they're just sort of scraping by. It's like pulling shit out of their fucking hat. It's just ridiculous. You think maybe Kelsey goes off, maybe the run game gets going, ignoring the fact that Pacheco was injured for most of the year. Kareem Hunt's cooked. And, Kelsey's cooked. The rest of the receiving corps was pretty inexperienced, apart from DeAndre Hopkins, who's now retired after blaming the refs. Like, it was just, it all sort of coalesced into the exact thing that I was like, well, as I went into that game going, I was able to hedge my Kansas City mid-season Super Bowl bet by going, we're going large on the Eagles, kicking the shit out of them. Because that was the way they were going to do it, right? And it was
either going to be Chiefs close or Eagles.
And it's exactly what happened because they were able to rush 4. It's exactly what the Bucks were able to do when they beat them.
Yeah.
And the offense falls apart when they've got no fucking time. Well, when they've got no one open, basically, for free.
Yeah. Was it Gronk? The quote from Gronk was, they're doing what we did, letting him run around and throw us the ball.
Yeah.
Like, that's, effectively what he did. There was also, the funny thing hearing what you were talking about the 3P, about why it's so hard. And the fact that it is such a physically, hectically demanding sport, and the off season's becoming shorter and shorter every year. And if you listen to Travis talk, like, over the last 5 years, he's played, like, the Chiefs have played just honestly more football than the other teams.
Yeah.
Because they've been so deep so often that, like, fuck, you just, it's got to take its toll at some point, right? It's almost, if you think about it, like, versus the perennial teams who don't make the playoffs, Travis has played a full season ahead, right? Just in playoff games. So it's got to catch up with you at some point. But I'm not going to cry into my cereal for Travis. I think he's doing all right.
But I think the bit where you guys had more touchdowns and Casey had like completions at some point, all this sort of stuff, like, it was just, there's so many of those stats that you kind of like, which just pick and choose, like, whatever. Yeah. It was such a, like, righteous ass kicking
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah. There was the clip on the sideline that I fucking loved, and it was like Callan showing a play to Sirianni, and he's just gone, "Fuck! If we hit it, it's over.
yeah.
Just call it," and walks off. And it's that check at the line. Devontae Smith running past the defense, 40-yard dagger, game over, and you're like, holy! I remember us in that point. It was like, all right, they're going to be conservative now because all they have to do is score a couple of times for the rest of this game, and it's like, nah, let's fucking end this now. And the moment, and I can't remember which defensive player it was for the Chiefs when they've done the mic'd up, and you can see that the Patriots came back from 28 to we'll write our own story, that kind of shit. And they've had interviews with was one of the defensive players on the Chiefs. Like, when did you know? Like, when did you 100% know that this was over? And they're like, when you're playing in the Super Bowl and the backup quarterback comes out, and when they bench the quarterback so that your starter, so that Kenny Pickett can take. Kenny Pickett, Jim, grew up a massive Eagles fan and got to take victory formation as a backup in the Super Bowl. Like, imagine that.
Not bad.
That's pretty good. And look, also, the guy who all fucking season, me and every fucking Eagles fan slammed and were concerned about during the playoffs, Jake fucking Elliott put up 16 points himself and was nearly perfect. And he missed one kick for the entire playoff, the Caesar series of playoffs, and scored a record of most points in a touchdown by fucking hell, I can't speak English. Most points in a Super Bowl by a kicker at 16. Fucking hello.
It's not bad.
Jelly.
23 total yards in the first half for the Chiefs, 3 turnovers, 6 sacks, 16 pressures without a single blitz. I think it was 43 dropbacks, I think was the number that I saw floating around.
Yep.
And they didn't blitz once. 42 dropbacks. There you go. And they rushed just 4 defenders each time. It was absolutely gnarly.
So 6 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 11 QB hits. But it was the guys who made the impression were the not Jalen Carter. I mean, he was in putting pressure on and all that sort of stuff. But it was guys like Josh Sweat, who were like, oh, fuck, what do we recycle? He took a pay cut to stay with the Eagles. Milton Williams. These guys who are like, have just made a name for themselves in one game. These guys are about to hit the market. Like, hey, if I'm going to have one game, should be in front of like 6 billion people, right? Yep. Yeah.
But I guess like that's sort of like the entire point of like this first half sort of chatter. We're still sitting there during this live stream, and you can sort of, if you want to go back and watch it, have at it. Like, because
it's fucking 4 hours of your life.
It's like 10-0, and we're both like, Chiefs, fucking, you can't leave anything to chance here. You need to be up by at least 10 going into the first half. And as these words are basically leaving our mouths, the Cooper DeJean pick 6 happens. And you're like, oh, fuck. And if you want to do the reverse of like, you can see the exact moment when Gaz's heart breaks back in, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
This is the elated Gaz. Oh, my God.
I couldn't believe that. That was something.
This is unreal. I can't believe he's going to run it back. Runs it back. Everybody's erupting. The place is going nuts. You're going nuts.
Of the rookie of all time, like, fuck, mate. We are in very good hands. I think like the right move for Slay right now is to retire, as he spent all year talking about how confident he was into these young kids playing like veterans and that the team's in safe hands and all that sort of stuff. And he's been at such a high level for so long. Injuries in the last couple of years, finally got his ring. And you're like, all right, Slay, settle off into the sunset, because we've got one of the exciting whites on the outside. We can move him to the outside now, Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, who fucking had a stellar playoff.
He also had a great victory parade, which we'll talk about later.
Oh, the victory parade was amazing.
But then the next one happens as well, and you're like, you're absolutely shitting me. So not a pick six, but it's the Zach Bourne.
What a fucking story. He's the story I hadn't mentioned, but he's got to be the fucking one of the best stories fucking out there.
And again, this is like, we're like, well, you're up 17 zip, Gaz, but I don't think that's enough at half. Boom, the interception happens, and you score again.
From like 10 yards out, straight to AJ Brown. That was the one. Fucking
absolutely gnarly. And that was like oh my God, this is
a route.
crazy. And like, you know, I'm sitting there pumping it up going, the thing is, the comeback's going to be the craziest part of this. Don't worry, everybody. It's going to be fine. I'm there in my Taylor Swift, Kansas City Swifties t-shirt.
Yep.
We're flying, and didn't get any better. So the best moment for you, what do you think it sort of stands out the most when you sort of look back during that stream, during that just watching experience? Meanwhile, we're being bloody peppered with screwball whiskey shots.
Yeah.
Bloody Marys, beers. And I'm like, I'm going to get to this NBL award show at some point. I'm going to get into a tux. I'm going to be over there. Managed to make it. It was all good. But bloody hell, had to keep myself at least a bit nice. And halftime rolls in, you're like, oh, Jesus. Like, this is really primed up for a massive Gaz attack, I think, back half, and that's exactly what happened.
Look, to be honest, like the two huge, most obvious plays for different reasons was the pick six. Well, that was the signal. That 3-play stretch was like, fuck, we're on here. This is not just luck and Patrick Mahomes is going to, like, we've got him frazzled. And that was fucking awesome. And then the Smitty dagger was when we're like, fuck, we've got this. This is too far to come back from now, right? This is not right. And then could you after that point you could just see the heads drop in the Chiefs players. By that stage, I think was it the Smitty one that put it up to 34. Anyway, that was like it was just done by that point. And you were
that was the massive one, right? The 40 yards. That was 34.
And I've seen that in slow mo. Have you seen there's some slow mo, super high def footage of that in the air, and you're just like, oh Jesus, that's a thing of beauty. Look, I think, and that was the moment that I'm like, oh shit, this is done. But then there's so many moments after the game too, because there's the Jalen walking towards the podium where he gets told he's the Super Bowl MVP. There's a one just before that where where they're still sitting on the sidelines and fucking AJ realizes that the camera's on him and they hand him his book.
Yeah.
So he starts reading the book on the sidelines. There's the fucking if you haven't watched it, if you're an Eagles fan and you listen and you absolutely have not watched the mic'd up of the Super Bowl, holy fucking shit. It's 40 minutes of your life. Even you, Jim. Like, I reckon there'll be some... I choked up, not going to lie. There's Smitty coming up to Jalen, like, in tears toward the end, and all Jalen's talking about is what Smitty's done. Not about, you know... and then it's funny that they talk about afterwards, it's... they're sitting on the sidelines and they say to Jalen, are you going to smile now? And it's just like, he talks about the loss and he goes, the loss changed my soul. And that's the funny thing. They talked about, it's straight afterwards. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but when they're cleaning out the locker and all of that sort of stuff and all the interviews afterwards. And Tom Brady said this on a number of occasions. It's, the ones they lost stayed with them more than the ones they've won. So yeah, they're celebrating already. But after 2 days, like, they're already thinking, fuck, I've got to get back there. AJ Brown's or come out and said the shine hasn't lasted as long as he thought it was. Like, it's the ride and the pressure and the build up and the success and beating the guy opposite you that gets him going. Now that he's achieved that, he's kind of already just waiting for the next one to start. Yeah. Like, fucking hell, like, that's a competitor vibe, right?
That's the sort of thing though, like, and I don't want to shit on this at all, but that's the sort of the reasoning behind the Pats dynasty, right? Yeah. Like, just the work is the work, the grind is the grind. Yeah. And for 20 years, like, you have Brady sort of embodying that and sort of all the bits and bobs with him, Belichick sort of built in around that sort of ethos.
Yeah.
Like if you've got that sort of pillar stone of talent, which like this Eagles team clearly does, and like then that extra sort of level of fun, fuck you-ness belief behind it, like that's an actual sort of like the Chiefs have kind of got a bit of that, but they don't have that fucking hardcore fuck you edge, right? They've just got like we're better than you usually.
Yeah. There was a whole thing about the toughness, like they wanted to go out and hit you harder, and one of the big things from last year, and it's so funny to see that we went to that Super Bowl, and we had that thing. It's weird because we nearly set that season. We nearly set the single season record in sacks.
Yeah.
Right? I don't even think about that defense as being that good. Like Bradbury was an All-Pro, right? Slay was up there, and you're like fucking all of these guys, but yet when we weren't, we were so soft in that secondary, and we had a horrible linebacking core that once. If they didn't get home, we were fucked, right? And that's what they were. All of the swing passes in the Andy Reid playbook just fucking killed us in the Super Bowl because there were guys open in the flat just constantly. So, but having that, and then when we collapsed last year, a big part of it was just missed fucking tackles, going the bump out of bounds rather than wrapping the dude up. And what Vic Fangio's bought in is we're fucking tougher than you.
Yep.
And that offensive line, like they don't go anywhere without each other. It's been huge just seeing them crushing cans after the game. But they're like, we're bigger than you. We're angrier than you. Fucking we'll take it to you. And that's, mate, it's made Philadelphia fall in love with them. It's fucking great.
Well, I think that's what you get when you just like draft all of what George's defense.
It took a couple of years to kick in, right? Well, then Nakobe Dean's not bad. You felt sorry for Nakobe Dean because he actually had a breakout season in this Vic Fangio defense, and then he's out. But Oren Burks got to step up, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. like during the playoff season,
and it's like
the Axeman.
You get Carter and Davis, but then what? Like Nolan Smith is from Georgia as well, right?
Fuck yeah, and he finally had his come out, and he's dude. When you talk about the parade, Nolan Smith during the parade was a fucking monster.
There's a dude who got messy. All right, basically, well, that's kind of the game, right? Like the game is the turnovers. It's a 24-zip thing. You kick a field goal after they turn the ball over again. They have to punt. They run out of downs. I think in that first possession out of the half, you kick a field goal, you get back down, they get stopped. Chris Jones gets hurt at one point as well, trying to stop the brotherly.
The brotherly shove. It was his he twinged his neck.
And then you have the Devonta Smith touchdown. And it's 34-0, and at this point, you're just like, well, I think this is the point we said on the stream. There's almost you're done now because there's almost not enough time for enough possessions. To score on, especially with the you know me, I fucking hate the new bullshit onside kick rules. Oh, you go, you do it at this point, and at this point, it's like, fuck off, nerds. Like, just let us do what the fuck we want. Like, is it within the rules? Wow, change the rules. Shut up, nerds. Anyway, 34-0 is just like, how many possessions do we have to score on? We've got to get a defensive fucking, like, 2 defensive scores and get the ball back straight away each time and just, like, keep scoring fucking super fast.
Yeah, and if you're against one of the top 2, even though rush offense is in the league, that was never going to happen. It's what there's something we haven't touched on. We haven't in all of this season, we haven't mentioned Saquon. Obviously, he sets the record for most yards in a season, including playoffs. But everyone's like, oh, they took him away. He was ineffective. He still put up 110 scrimmage yards. It was like they took away the run. So like he had one of the most important catches of the game when down the sideline. He nearly fucking dropped it, but Hurts hit him. He juggled that catch, and that was the first down, put us into deep into the territory. So it was fucking awesome.
And like that first score I think for them is like at the very end of the third quarter, and so it's already at this point 34. You kick another field goal, they have the fumble. You kick another field goal, and you're like, "This is pack her up, boys. We are done." 40-6 at this point. You're just like, "Pack her up. This is OVE."
It's funny. I'm trying to. That's the long pass touchdown of Mahomes falling out of bounds to Worthy, where he has to come back, and then it was a fucking great touchdown. However, it was very hard for Chiefs fans to get excited at that point. Yeah, like any other game, you're like, that's fucking awesome. And then
Worthy ends up with 2 touchdowns in the end because he has the other 50 fucking yarder right at the end, right?
Yeah. Everyone switched off by that point.
It's like it's fucking party time already. So it was. I think we wrapped up our sort of live stream, it's like, they're giving out the MVP to Hurts. Sirianni's up there. He gets covered in, nailed it, the yellow-green Gatorade.
Mm.
They covered him in Gatorade very early, Gaz.
That's awesome. The fact that you can cover your coach in Gatorade without risk outside the 2-minute warning,
not bad.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
And that's kind of it. Like, you guys, it was such a comprehensive ass kicking. That team and their fans got to basically spend an extra 15, 20 minutes just going, fuck, I won the Super Bowl. This rules. So it was pretty nice. And then the confetti. You've got, Saquon, just as you hit on, like, just beside himself, like, first year on the Eagles, is the exact dude that they need. Just makes
Hurts came up to him as it's come out in the clips and like going, it's you, brother. He's like, no, it's everyone. It's yeah, we get it. But we were so close. We were already that team. We needed that. You were that piece that tipped us over the edge. That, like, AJ's not open that wide. Fucking Smitty's not got one-on-one coverage. We talked about it during the game that they were going to fucking take out AJ. They were going to take out Saquon. And Dallas Goedert was going to have a fucking paddock in the middle. And he was just, the drag routes were just fucking there, right? Because what are you going to fucking do? And none of these receivers are little. You got slim back Batman. But he's running routes and everyone else will take you down. So it was just, Saquon was that piece that we missed. And you see that talk at the end of the game where, it was some cool moments.
It was good. It was lovely. At our party, I think beloved listener Jez actually managed to win the $150 bar tab, which is hilarious. Yeah. Because I mean,
I'm glad Matty O didn't win it because he's a Falcons fan and rocked up in a Kansas City shirt, but his Taylor Swift Super Bowl shirt only arrived yesterday, day before.
Yeah. So he was telling me about that. He's like, I actually had a shirt because I obviously ripped off my Patriots jersey,
you're all pricks.
My Donta Hightower jersey on stage. To show off my first Swifties t-shirt. And then I had another one as well, just to sort of rub this in. So I'm sitting there in a different t-shirt on the live stream. And neither of us could put the mocker on your team. So he has like this awesome Hawaiian Swifties shirt. It's amazing. I love it. So maybe they'll be back next year, but geez. And then, I don't know, it sort of all wraps up for us. The drinking just obviously continues.
The party just keeps going. Oh, there's fucking dudes. I've got videos on my phone of like, there's a dude at the party who was wearing like Eagles pajamas that I like videoed that. And then I'm like, fucking out with Mike. And then some people who knew that we were there from Eagles watching it from other parties, like Matt rocks up and there's a whole bunch of dudes. And it just went sideways, Jim. I'm not going to lie. It went sideways.
So I leave. Yeah, take us through the rest of your day then. So I leave probably around
There's a lot of gaps,
3:30. I make sure I've got all my stuff. I've got to get home, have a shower, get into a fucking tux and get back into the city for 6:30 for the NBL Awards. And I'm like, I'm not going to message. I'm just going to let Gaz go.
There was a lot I didn't message. So there was a lot of messages. There was actually Brett Poglaze, who's one of our boys. He messaged me a couple of days later, and it was only when I read his message that I realized that there was 5 unread and unanswered messages from him from Monday. I was trying to ignore my phone deliberately during the game, right? Because I was getting messages from not only people around, but also mates from work and random cunts who've never watched a game of NFL telling me how much the Eagles suck and how much we're going to get our ass handed to us. So I was like, yeah, back in your box, mate. So I ignored that. And then I got drunk, Jim. And then what happens is Gaz, who's usually staring at his phone every minute, just ignores it. And his wife wonders if he's alive. So I had a great time. At some point, I discussed with the Catfish boys how it was our 11th Super Bowl. Well, it was my 11th Super Bowl party there. It was ours, ever since we were allowed in from 2020. So I think maybe we had limited in 2022.
Yeah, so I think there was a few limited parties that we were able to do there in between lockdown. So I think that was our 5th or 6th time. I think it was our 6th hosting.
There you go. Yeah, so I've run that since 2000. Sorry. Yeah, I've had 11 there. Since they just first opened. So it's my 3rd Eagles Super Bowl, my second Eagles victory, and drunk Gaz semi-committed to getting a Catfish tattoo and a Kelly Green Eagles jersey. So
there was no. That was promised on stage, and I believe pre-show and on stream. This was no semi-promise. There was.
I thought about it this morning. I'm like, I'll only do it if it's valid.
There was a hard promise. And I might be quoting you here, Jim. If we win, I will be getting insert Catfish Kelly Green jersey, and then during this stream, you going, what jersey number am I going to put on this cat?
I did say that because I also said it to Kieran, who is one of the owners, and he goes, why don't you get 59? I'm like, yep. And I also need to get one of those Swifties can licks my balls as CJGJ was wearing. Now, because we want to run through this and get out of here because people don't need to listen to me gush, should we talk about the post-match celebrations from the team, Jim? Because the parade was something to behold.
So Philly fans are obviously animals. Greasing poles, eating horseshit last time round. There were reports of like the hotels making sure that they didn't have. So if you've been to America, well, I mean, obviously I lived there. Gaz has toured there and traveled there a million times. But one of the big things they have is awnings at the front. Yeah. Like they fucking love an awning.
They love an awning.
That country is just, you know what we love? Fascism and awnings. It's awesome. That's what they're all about in America. And all the places in fucking Philly just like, you know what we need to get in? Our awnings. Because motherfuckers are going to be climbing on this shit and collapsing and jumping through.
There's videos of dudes dancing. It was hectic. It was like, oh mate. So I have to there's a fucking direct shout out to this one, right? So, and I think I sent you a photo of him with one of the Eagles super fans, but Chris fucking Baxter. Chris Baxter is a guy that I've known through Eagles pages and chats and all this sort of stuff, and some of the NFL Straya watch parties, and when we went and watched the championship game and all this sort of stuff. Such an Eagles fan. I'm gonna get this wrong. You'll fucking call me out, but he owns something like 120 Eagles jerseys, like all color coded and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, so we watched the game in the NFC Championship game over at the Sporting Globe in Richmond. There was a big crew of Eagles fans. We talked about it on the show. It was fucking awesome. Happy days. He then books tickets to Philly and goes over there to watch the game. So watches it in a massive party. And then when we win, changes his tickets to stay for the parade. So he's there, gets interviewed by Channel 7, like fucking wearing Aussie flag, big fucking, spent the entire week going to fucking Sixers, which apparently was problematic, games, Flyers games, like basically any Philly thing that he could go to, has the best time of his life, and then goes to the parade. Like he was apparently meters away from where they were cooking the pig on a spit with the looked like Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, looked at the parade looked fucking absolutely phenomenal. When you look at Quinyon Mitchell was a fucking beast. Dude, like, I don't know. I thought I was pretty fucking drunk and not really remember getting home and losing my McNabb. If you see a McNabb jersey, black, old school Reebok one with a slight tear somewhere between Thornbury and Fitzroy, that's probably Gaz's from the Super Bowl, so I'd really like that back. But like Nolan Smith stumbling around, just walking up, just grabbing he grabbed a random child, Jim, and just put him on his shoulders and started walking around with a random child, then grabbed someone's bottle of Hennessy, was like pulling beers out of his pocket and handing them to random people so we could scull with them.
Well, it was
fucking amazing.
Literally anyone would go, hey, shotgun this beer. He's like, I will shotgun that beer.
Yeah. Dallas got it, just walked straight off the bus, and he's just like grabbing shit. Fucking the one that fucking got me today, I thought I'd seen it all, Landon Dickerson. So he's the one, like, every time they walked out, like as soon as he walked off the bus, someone walks up and said, Landon, how did you think of that? And he just goes, fucking go, Birds. Yeah, all right, cool. He walks up to someone, they hand him a thing. He grabs it like the country boy that he is, grabs the top of the can by his teeth, rips off the entire top, Jim.
Jesus.
Didn't shotgun, ripped off the top of the can and then sculled it like a cup. Like, what the fuck are they raising out there? Like, geez, that was hectic. But then you see the actual speeches when they got up there. And I just happened to get up last Saturday morning. I was up Sparrow's fart and, getting over my 4-day hangover. So I had an early Friday night. Up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'll flick on YouTube and it's like, live stream from the Eagles parade. And I got there just as the fucking speeches are starting. Dave Spadaro getting up, do all the niceties, and Jalen Hurts gets up and he's his normal fucking, deadpan, like very self. I promised myself I wouldn't come to the Rocky Stairs until I won a championship, all that sort of shit. And then they let guys like the O-line get up and AJ Brown get up. And it was all like, they said I was a prima donna, but now I'm a motherfucking champion. We apologize for the profanity. This is live. There was more. We apologize for the profanity than actual speeches, Jim. It was fucking great. It was so Philly. It was Howie Roseman getting up with a gash on his forehead. And then afterwards, you're like, what the fuck happened? And then afterwards, you see the fact that like some dude piffed a fucking beer at the bus and just sconed Howie Roseman. I've seen a photo of that, Jim, and I've posted that around. I want that on a t-shirt like Trump got his like fight assassination moment thing. I want Howie Roseman smoking a cigar with a fucking beer can gash on his forehead going, this is the Eagles parade.
Love it.
Fuck yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah, I feel like you buried the lead about how you just, that was, I think, the first message I got back from you. It's like, how did it all go? And you're like, I lost my shirt.
Yeah, because someone, who was I with? I can't remember who said to me, I thought it was going to go downhill when you stripped your jersey off. And I'm like, to be fair, it was a 30-something degree fucking day. I was wearing something underneath it. It wasn't like Gaz going full like fucking chaos. Like, what's that? That's
guys, we're going streaking. We're going streaking through the quad.
That's super fan, the Eagles super fan who's got like the big Philly fanatic fucking like tattoos all over his shit. I wasn't doing guts out fucking that, to be fair. But yeah, I definitely should have left my jersey on and then I would have brought it home. But I did bring my laptop home, so that
was the other part of that message. I did remember
bring my laptop. And then guess what, Jim? This was the first out of 5 Super Bowl streams that we've done as NFL Straya that the stream didn't cut out mid fucking thing and everyone called Gaz a dickhead. So I'm going to take that as a win as well. It was all coming up, Gaz.
It was a great, I think the actual game that we were going through was a hint behind, but
yeah, we were. The live stream plus casting and all that sort of stuff.
The Kendrick Lamar halftime show was the other thing I wanted to sort of quickly hit on. Wow, have you ever seen a bunch of white boomers angry? Go nuts.
Wow. I thought your DEI was so important. How about you put some white people in a fucking halftime show, Jim?
So we want reverse DEI all of a sudden, you fucking idiots. I loved it. I thought it didn't hit me until later that night, but this was the best part almost of my day, was literally watching the Kendrick performance, the entire crowd going A minor.
Yeah.
Drake clearly copying that. And loved the Kendrick show. I've seen Kendrick a couple of times. I think he's fucking awesome. It ruled. And we were saying on the live stream, the thing about a show like that is clearly made for TV. It's not exactly the in-stadium experience of like a bigger fucking giant thing, because it's a halftime show, right?
Yeah.
You're basically trying to get some cool effects, some cool visuals, a couple of bangers, and it just to be rad. But Kendrick and that, they kind of went, we'll go a little bit smaller space and sort of make it pop for TV. I think it kind of did. People who had a problem with it fucking... And then all the Drake stuff happens, and you're like, that's pretty funny. A minor. And then smash cut to me getting out of the Uber at the NBL Awards, which is at Melbourne Park. So it's at Centrepiece in the middle of like John Caterine and Rod Laver. I'm like, fucking hell, there's cars dropping off shit everywhere. There's people fucking everywhere. And I'm like the only one, like, there's another black tie suit over there. I'm in the right spot. Okay. There's a bunch of barely dressed tweens. And you're like, this is what's going on. There's a big merch line over there. This must be some sort of K-pop thing. It was Drake.
Yeah. Yeah, he chose the 2 nights either side of the Super Bowl in Australia to play literally the furthest distance he could be away from the dude calling him a pedophile.
Yeah.
In front of billions of people. He chose to play Melbourne.
I was standing in line to go into the NBL Awards. Like, I'm behind Taco Fall, who's like 7'6". I'm like, geez, they don't build suits that big. Like, just obviously. But I'm like having a chat with a buddy of mine. And I'm like, it's fucking Drake. That dude has had a day, and now he has to play a fucking show.
Yep.
In Melbourne. He's like, quite literally, it's like, where will be where people give the least amount of a fuck about the Super Bowl? I want to be there on Super Bowl day. I think he probably nailed it. Looking at that crowd, I don't think they're big fucking NFL fans, just thinking, and boom, away he goes. And then the footage came out of him watching it, I think, at the casino earlier that day.
Yep.
And like someone, secret sort of, he's got a private room watching with a bunch of his buddies. And you're like, that's just if you want a winner and loser of the Super Bowl, winner, Kendrick. Loser, it's probably Drake.
Yep.
So that was a fun addendum to my evening of going, fucking Drake's playing here? Oh, shit. I had no idea. It was fucking hilarious. Sucked it. Anyway, well, was there anything else?
There's a little bit of, there's a little bit of, I guess, a little bit of news. I guess there's a little bit of NFL news that's come out. So Zach Martin retired today. Didn't get a ring from the Cowboys. Kellen Moore officially got signed as the Saints head coach and has taken a bunch of Eagles assistants already with him. Kevin Patullo has been promoted as our offensive coordinator, but we're lucky that Vic Fangio is a grumpy old fuck and has made the statement that, the Eagles are going to be the last because he grew up in Philly, right? So this is him coming home. We didn't really touch on that, but like Philly boy came home. He'd been coaching for like 40 years. Finally wins his Super Bowl. There's party going on all around him, and he came in, shake a few hands, and just left. And they asked him about it. Go, what do you think now? And then he quoted some old coach saying, "You know what? I'm the same coach I was yesterday as I am today. I've just got a better record. This doesn't validate me or anything. I got to go back to work." I'm like, you grumpy old fuck, just enjoy it. Smoke a fucking cigar with Jalen Hurts and just be good. But the good thing about it is he's not going to get poached. Like last Super Bowl, we had even in a loss, we had both coordinators go, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Lions when they've been poached as well, right? So it makes it hard to stick at the top.
Another loser is probably DeAndre Hopkins. He didn't. It came out that he's retiring. He had to. I think he was on Twitter or whatever. Like, I'm not done yet. It's like whatever. He had a really tough couple of drops. One big one too that you just like wide open, and then
the comeback was a chance then, and he was open on that third down, and it was
the refs. He was like,
he did blame the refs.
What are you doing, loser? Yeah. The refs weren't the reason you were down 34-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, I mean, we'll do another off-season show. We always sort of tend to do with like off-season news and draft gear and stuff, even though we're not exactly draft nicks. No. With my beloved Patriots still up the top again this year. I'll be paying a little bit more attention as I was last year.
I'll start forgetting about the first 2 rounds again, mate, when you're picking from 32.
I've been there before, Gaz. You don't have to tell me. But yeah, we'll come back and do, draft and off-season moves and et cetera. We'll do one of those shows. Usually, I think it's 1 or 2. So we'll see how we're going. But before we wrap up here, who do you think is favourite to win the Super Bowl? Well, Super Bowl 60 next year.
I don't think that we're favourites at the moment because of the young core, I would say. Right?
You are co-favourites.
Co-favourites with the Lions?
There are 2 other teams that are on the same level as you.
Lions.
No. They are 2 AFC teams.
Ravens and Bills.
Ravens and Chiefs.
And Chiefs? Bills not in there. Okay.
Bills are next cab off the rank. Literally the next price point down, and then it is the Lions, and then there's a big drop off. So that is your top 3 favorites, as I mentioned, the Ravens, Chiefs, and Eagles. Reigning Super Bowl champion Eagles.
Yep.
At $7, along with the Chiefs and the Ravens. Then at $7.50, it's the Bills. $9 for the Lions. Big drop off to the Niners. Bengals at 15, which I actually am like, hang on. Bounce back. Don't mind that. Packers at 19. Commies at 20. Texans 23. Chargers 23. Rams and Vikings and Bucks at 26. If there's any other sort of like, if you think about last year, year before, is there another sort of like random floater that could just continue its jump? Denver's 46, which is pretty interesting if you ask me. The Bears with an actual coach, 41. But yeah, the Broncos.
You'd have to see what are the missing pieces, and who's got the ability to add that, right? Yeah. Like if you look at what the money that like a couple $100 I won on Saquon, I put as soon as we got him, I put look at our offensive line. I put $5 on fucking Saquon at 50-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year, and it's just kind of a well, fuck, mate. Like you just got to what's that piece, and I don't know. Everyone's got a lot of holes. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the new year starts.
All right, Super Bowl 60 pick then go now.
Eagles.
All right. I'm just going to be a sucker for punishment and say the Bills. I think
every year I've said this is their one to step up. Right?
The toughest part is both the Ravens and the Bills who have just got to have watched that Super Bowl going, dude, what the fuck? Why can't we do that?
Yeah, fuck. But the funny thing is, I feel like I want to bet the under on the Lions, whatever their fucking games are, because I just don't think. Yes, yeah, fucking Dan Campbell's got balls of steel, but when they have some pretty good fucking coordinators they just lost there, and we saw what the massive step back we took last year, and also the year after the Super Bowl when we lost it, the two boys when we lost. Oh my God, I've gone fucking blank. It was that long ago that Dougie P.
Frank Reich.
And what's his name? He's now coaching the Browns. Yeah.
Anyway.
No. I'm always going blank because he's another grumpy old. I
don't even remember. But either way, I think there's sort of like a weird setup where the Eagles look that imperious already, but I mean, each year the Super Bowl champion looks imperious, and then something happens. There's a couple of like little holes that pop off, and
Jim Schwartz was who I was thinking about.
Schwartz, sure.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. It's a fun. This is why it's so hard to go back to back. It's why it's so hard to win three because you start from the bottom, same as everybody else.
And health is such a fucking huge thing, right?
Richie Incognito also can fuck off, which is pretty funny. It's like, Bullygate never happened, really. I kind of made that up, said, what was that? Jonathan Martin? What is it?
Yeah.
Over a decade ago. And it's like, Richie Incognito taking like a victory lap. It's like, wait a minute, you said a bunch of racist shit as well, you fuckhead. Like,
yeah, it wasn't one thing.
It's not like you're fucking the world's greatest gift to mankind.
You were definitely a piece of shit before, during, and after that, whether it happened or not.
That was a weird story, but anyway, so I think I'll look. You've already taken the Eagles. I feel like they should be shorter price than they are, but
yeah. I really like our call. I think the difference with 2 years ago was we had a lot. Remember, we picked up in Dominican Sue. We put Linval Joseph, like just these guys to plug holes for injuries. Whereas now it feels like we've got a core. The guys who stepped up were young dudes who've still got a year of development. We've had rookies contribute. We had Nolan Smith like making it. Yeah, I'm actually happy with where the fuck we are, and we don't have to go out in desperation. So
how about I don't know, $91? What do you reckon? Can I tempt you in the Patriots?
No.
This year's Washington Commanders under Drake May, weapon, actual coach, should be interesting. Just saying. Yeah, sure. All right, there we go. That has been the victory lap episode of NFL Straya from Gaz and his beloved Eagles. I did get making the joke that it's like, yeah, we'll do an episode when we find him.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. So I showed up. I fuck knows how, because I don't remember what time. I didn't remember what time I got home. The best invention in terms of tech for me in the last 5 years plus has to be the Your Timeline feature on Google, where like the next day I can go, where the fuck did I go? Right. That's how I worked out after the NFC Championship game. I walked home from Richmond on a 35-degree day. That was a fucking anyway. So the next day I had to check when the fuck I got home, but somehow I made it to my 9 a.m. meeting on Tuesday morning. I was there. I did not miss a fucking meeting. I will admit that I was somewhat less than 100%, but I was there in presence. Everyone knew where I'd been the night before. They gave me an allowance, and I slowly improved as the week went on.
Better than me.
Yeah.
Nice one. Yeah, all I did was I glad handed with a bunch of like NBL stars from my childhood. I'm like fucking ask 8-year-old Jim if he's having the best time ever right now.
Yeah.
So, yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
Meanwhile, you won the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah. Anyway, do you know what? It was a great experience, Jim. I would recommend it to anyone if they want to try it. I'd highly recommend winning the Super Bowl.
I mean, with 6 in my bag, I'm kind of like, yeah, I get it. At the same time, though, I never quite got the sheer joy, massive group celebration.
Yeah,
in like the three Supies that we got. Like there was when we're in the States, we'd had one, I think, just after we moved home. There was the 19 one. So over the Rams. That if you want a shit Super Bowl, that was a shit Super Bowl. Like nothing fucking happened in that game, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like, a couple of mates, because we had a very small baby at that one too. So and then the other ones in the States, we just had mates around. And because like you think about Super Bowl Sunday when like living in New York, like every fucking bar is just crammed. So it's much easier just to get a bunch of mates around, sink a shit ton of piss, and then you're losing your shit on your own couch. And you're like, this is very civilized comparatively. And then you roll it all the way back to the early thousands. And I mean, I was watching it like a couple of work in the olden days, and that was because we had TVs fucking crammed into like the one office that I worked at, a Beat magazine. And shit.
Oh well, to be honest, back then when we started watching it in the early 2000s, that you struggled to find pubs that you could watch it at.
Exactly.
Right. The reason that I started the one at originally before Catfish opened, I started one at the Vic Hotel in Brunswick, and that was because fuck it, I'll reach out to a venue and get a tradition started, because it was a struggle. So now every man and his dog, the guys who don't usually play sport, have all of a sudden got the best Super Bowl packages in Melbourne.
That's it. And that's kind of the thing. I think the biggest thing coming out of that is we throw one of the greatest parties in Melbourne for the Super Bowl, and it would not be possible. Would not be possible without the legends at the Catfish.
Fucking oath.
They did
and Sparrows. Gino had the best day too, from Philly. Loved it. Fucking gave it hell.
It was a great time all around. The legends of the Catfish. Was it Screwball Whiskey just helping out massively? All the legends that we had from the Sports Today network. So our old code bet dudes. So the Stats Boy, Leo, Alex was there as well. And of course, producer Gerald, who actually does all the fucking work.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened without him.
No.
Sound guy Geordie and everything. So like the coolest.
And everyone who jumped up every time one of us needed a piss, which was often, Jim, because we're old and our bladders aren't great. Everyone who jumped up and had a bit of a chat, that happened. It was great.
Yeah, to Jez and everybody else who filled in the prop sheets, etc. But it was like the most fucking fun each year. That's what it is. It's like a great party.
Christmas. It's fucking Christmas, Jim.
A great fucking hang. Yeah. So anyway, we will be doing shows during the off season here and there for probably just off season sort of free agency, etc., and a draft sort of thing. So make sure you're following us across your podcast apps, whatever you use, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify, your app, YouTube Music. Jump on the YouTube. You can see us doing this. Producer Gerald puts all the effort and work into it. So, make it worth his time and actually watch the bloody thing.
Yep.
Rate and review it on all those apps, etc. It does really help. Big thanks always go to House Hats for the intro and outro song. They rule. Get around all the other shows we have as well. AFL Today, as I mentioned, that is back and absolutely flying for AFL preseason. We've got the Cricket Today podcast. The boys have been covering the Champions Trophy. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but here we are. NBA Straya is back and flying as well.
Hey.
Hold all tickets with all the GGs. No way we go. Any plugs there, Gaz?
Nah, I'm going to Bali next week. And I'll probably get a shit tattoo over there. And then you'll see me at a tattoo venue near you trying to get a a Catfish in a Kelly Green Eagles jersey, probably with a number 59 for the Super Bowl on it at some point.
All right. Well, we will catch you next time, you dickheads.
See you next season.
Go on, Gaz. You're going to give us a Fly Eagles, Fly Eagles.
Fly Eagles, fucking fly!